stupid fat hobbit.
Hi guys, welcome back. Paul here, Beardy Gamer, and today is my first part of a two-part series on Resident Evil 5 and 6. I'm a massive fan of the franchise, however, after 4 I really felt that 5 and 6 really missed the mark when it came to a Resident Evil game. Survival horror had gone and we've been given an action horror game thing instead. I'm going to look back to see if 9 years after the original release of Resident Evil 5, whether my feelings have changed at all. At the time I really hated it, and I think it was really down to the 3 films that came out before it. So we had Resident Evil, Afterlife and Extinction, and those films were awful. I feel like those experiences that I had when I put Resident Evil 5 into my console, played it for the first time, really made me think that the game was shit as well. So I'm going to look back at the Resident Evil 5 today, see if my feelings then match how my feelings are now, and see if there's any difference. But pretty much there's only one way to do that, and that's to look into the video. So let's get on with it, and let's jump into some gameplay and talk about the game.
Resident Evil 5.
Resident Evil 5 puts you in Africa as Chris Redfield as part of the BSAA, which is an organisation that formed after the downfall of Umbrella to fight terrorist operations across the world using bioweapons and the viruses and stuff that Umbrella had kind of released into the market. Gameplay wise, it's pretty similar to Resident Evil 4 in terms of its mechanics, so the same sort of shooting systems there. It's over the shoulder, sort of third person perspective. One thing I thought they would have improved from Resident Evil 4, however, was the shooting mechanics. So even though the guns feel okay, like, you still have to stand still while you're shooting. I would have thought at this point they'd have implemented some sort of run and gun technique, and other games of the time that came out this release also had those mechanics in it, so it felt a little bit behind the times in terms of those mechanics. Creature wise and design, I mean, it's one of the few new Resident Evil games that I think the creature design was really on point. The use of the African tribes, for example, and different mutations of those was really cool. I really liked some of the bosses in there, so the giant bat, which is one of the big bosses that you fought, the crab thing in the underground lab, that was another great boss fight. However, I found Albert Wesker to be really frustrating. Enemy wise, you know, you've got these standard guys that have kind of been infected by the Umburo virus, which is a strain of the Las Plagas that's been developed by Wesker and some people at Tricell. The story's a little bit crazy at times, you know, in true Resident Evil fashion. You're going across this continent finding out bits of information about Umbrella's history and Tricell's history and how they kind of are part of the same leagues. In terms of other gameplay, sometimes it was really frustrating playing this game, especially when it came to Albert Wesker. I really found his fights to be really just annoying, like trying to figure out what it was you're supposed to do, if you're supposed to wait, to run away from him, turn off a light. It just didn't really... It made it a really frustrating point in the game when every other boss seemed to have a very clear way of dealing and handling with them. In terms of the looks of the game, I know this is a little bit old now, it's a 2009 release. I'm playing on the HD remastered version of my PS4, and do you know what? I think it still looks quite good for its age. I mean, there's still a bit of blurring in the background somewhere, which is, you know, a technique that they used at the time to make games look a little bit better, but for the most part it's still a good looking game. This guy here was so annoying to defeat, by the way. This is the only reason why I put him in here, because it took me fucking forever. And it used to just grab me and stab me. Anyway, back to the Umburo. So the Umburo virus kind of mutates people if they're not being accepted or if it doesn't write the right way. These guys are only harmed by fire, which is really annoying, because you just, you know, in this scene here, you'll see him using the flamethrower. It doesn't really do much to him. You kind of need to like cut parts off him just to slow him down and get those last shots in. Towards the end part of the game, however, it went really action orientated, so this is a part for me that I still didn't like the first time around and didn't really like this time around either. So the guys that are infected with the Umburo, you know, are wandering around with sort of shields and stun batons and rifles and, you know, just shooting at you, and that's not Resident Evil's horror side to me. I mean, to some extent I can get it when they're picking up an axe or a machete or something. It's like a base instinct to kind of use a weapon, but you know, this guy here with a Gatling gun, it's just a bit ridiculous, and was parts of the game that I felt were really, really over-exaggerated and wasn't really necessary. Again, these guys with rocket launchers, I mean, I know they're trying to make some sort of super soldier thing out of this virus, but it just felt really out of place in the context of a Resident Evil game. I think they should still stick to that survival horror aspect. And in true Resident Evil fashion, things just get bigger and better and worse in terms of boss fights. This crazy scene here where they absorb all these bodies and turn into this giant, huge Uberoboro monster thing. When there was like a ship with some sort of laser targeting satellite missile thing on it, was just probably one of the most over-the-top crazy moments in the game. But they kind of made it fun at the same time. Albert Wesker I mentioned earlier, really annoying. You have to run around, sort of turn lights off, trying to confuse him to be able to get one up on him. But you know, the story in the end does kind of fit together. It does fit in the larger narrative. It wasn't something that I hated overall. You know, like I said, sometimes it was over top and sometimes it was too action orientated, but it was still a good game. One thing that I will say is, and it's something that we'll get into a little bit later on towards the end of the video, is there was a DLC included in this version. This is the gold edition that I've got, which is a DLC pack known as Lost in Nightmares, where you and Jill go to the Spencer Mansion. Because in this game you go looking for Jill. She's, you know, supposedly dead, but then she turns up and you don't really know that she's alive or what happened to her. And the Lost in Nightmares pack kind of gives you that information, sets up the rest of the game. I don't understand why they left it out. The Lost in Nightmares pack, again, for me, felt like what the game should have based itself on. I know it's very similar to the original Resident Evil with Jill and Chris going into a mansion, and you know, they make a joke here about Spencer and his cranks. But it felt like a really good fit. The door transitions kind of going into places, and you know, the whole atmosphere of this game, of this part of the game, really felt like Resident Evil to me. I think if they included this in the original cut of the game and set it up as that, you know, like prologue to what's happening, it might have made the game a little bit more receptacle to fans, and set the storyline up a little bit better for everybody. This bit here was just a classic Resident Evil moment for me. I mean, it just brings back memories of being in the original mansion when you try to take the shotgun and the wall and the roof starts to come down. So really, looking back on the game, it wasn't horrendous, but it was really enjoyable, and I really did enjoy playing it through this time round rather than the first time round. Like I said, I really hated it first time round. Couldn't wait to get rid of it. You know, I stuck it in to cash converters as soon as I could pick up a different game. But playing it 9 years on, you know, after I've kind of forgotten about the films, you know, it's actually a really good game, and I'm really glad that I took this opportunity to go through this game and try it again. And you know, like Wesker said, let's finish this. Well, that was pretty interesting. I never really thought that my opinion would change so much on this game. Like I said, when I first got this game, I hated it. I only played through maybe 2 hours or so before I kind of stuck it back in its case and took it off to cash converters. But this time around, I really enjoyed it. I'm so glad that I did this, because it's really opened my eyes as to how much the films that I also didn't like have really impacted how I felt about this game going into it. Yeah, it's not the best Resident Evil game in the world. Yeah, it's a massive step away from the survival horror aspects of the franchise, but you know, it's not an awful game, and it's definitely something I would say to you guys at home. You know, go check it out, go pick up a copy. It's pretty cheap. There's a link in the description below to pick one up from Amazon. But yeah, there we have it. Next week I'm going to be back with part 2 of this. I'll be looking at Resident Evil 6, see if those feelings are still the same about it being an absolutely diabolical game. But we'll see. There's only way to find out. Subscribe, hit the notification bells, and find me on Twitter. So you'll get me at Beardy Gamer, where I'm going to put a poll up after this video just to see how you guys feel about this game as well, and see if there's any interest for you to now go out and play this game again and see if your feelings have changed over the years. Okay, see you in the next video, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.